Hey, what's up? Tonight I'm gonna talk about projector type aura in human design. And actually, I don't know anything about human design. This is going to be a completely intuitive explanation. And it might be something different than what you are used to hearing from the discourse of human design. And if you are a projector type, it might be quite interesting for you to know this. So strap up and I've seen a TV show Westworld, and if you know the TV show, it's about a theme park where human-like bots or non-player characters are looking like cowboys and cowgirls and Indians and a bunch of people, and then visitors from the outside world come into the theme park and they can fulfill their fantasies. Now, I've been watching season 2 and the bots, they had a mutiny and somehow they started to learn things that were not in their script. Now, this is very much analogical to this game of life that we are experiencing. Now, am I saying that there are non-player characters out there and people who are actually bots? Kind of. I don't want to get into that specifically. You see, it's all one base consciousness, and every animal, snail, and every other being is an animation that is a product of life force that is projected by the consciousness. So it's all God, everything is God. Now, beings have different bandwidths of awareness. Okay, so we can say somebody who's not awake or haven't expanded the awareness, they might seem to operate from just their basic logic and what's inscribed in their script and their instincts. Okay, so that might be one explanation of a non-player character. Now, a player would be somebody who is aware of their nature as God creator inside of an ant, snail, cat, dog, human, alien, angel, whatever, and specifically on some level of angels, which is a higher bandwidth, you wouldn't have that much choice. You simply have your domain that you are kind of withholding. In the human reality, actually, you have more complex builds, so you can creatively explore in many different ways. So this gives you the attribution of being a player, right? You can sort of choose directions. In this being, with your awareness, you choose directions. Now, what does a projector do? So I mentioned Westworld, and there was a really interesting thing that they mentioned in the series, and that is that how all the bots, if you will, how all the people that are actually kind of like just not the players in the park, but they're just stage people, okay, and they're kind of like robots or artificial people. How they have scripts, and there is also an internet that connects all these scripts together. So there is an sort of like an interconnecting etheric tissue that connects all these people in this theme park together. Now, these people, they are not aware of this. They're simply, hey, I'm a cowboy. Do you have some milk? And can I park my horse? And then somebody would approach them and they would be, I have a horse parking and yes, I would like some milk. Now, there are also other people that are not looking for a horse, they're not looking for the milk, and they have a system that keeps the storylines separate. So the system is like what we call the subconscious or collective subconscious. There are things that happen on an etheric level, soul contracts, if you will. How we meet people, how we encounter somebody that we're going to have a partnership or karmic partnership with. So there will be lessons exchanged. These things are already in the working on the invisible level. Now, when you expand your consciousness, you can become aware of these etheric connections. Okay. When the consciousness is not expanded, you're simply aware of who you are, and you maybe think that you're just going about your life and things randomly happen or things coincide to happen. But when you expand your consciousness, you start to notice the synchronicity, and the synchronicity really means that now you expanded the awareness that you actually notice how things collide and coincide, and you are aware of that, so nothing seems random anymore. Now, the projector type is actually a being that works with the script. A projector type does not need to do physically something like go and ask. I'm not saying you won't like get about your day and just go in the street, but you can see the field that maybe other people are not seeing. They're not seeing how the ideas and the connections kind of like come into their mind, because it's just one ocean of thoughts, the collective consciousness, right? But the projector, you can select these currents, and then people will receive ideas that you are selecting. So you are sort of a collective script editor, where you can actually influence behavior of other people, and so let's give an example. So how I will influence, everybody will influence behavior of others, right? But let's say if I was, let's say a different type of being. I'm not going to go into human design because that's not my niche. Okay, but let's say if I want to influence your behavior, if I was grounded in just a sort of what is apparent reality, it's not the metaphysical and how the scripts coincide and collide. I'm just grounded in this reality where I talk to people, I hear people, what they say, I see them, I see what they do. I might try to influence people by facial expressions. I might try to seduce, right? By gimmick. Or by words. I might try to persuade you, right? That this is a great idea. Like, I'm pitching an idea. Trust me, it's an amazing idea. So I'm trying to emotionally, verbally, and physically influence you, right? And that might be like, I'm trying to like motivate you, I'm trying to seduce you, or something like I'm trying to be cute, I'm trying to be smart, I'm trying to arouse an effect upon your beingness, right? And so there are many levels. I can touch you, I can have an emotional transfer, I can have a mental transfer or a lingo transfer. And I'm doing all of these things, okay? But then there is a metaphysical also creativity, where even if I would not do anything, even if I just twiddle my fingers and sit in the room as a projector, there might be 10 people in the room, and there are many narratives going in this cloud that is a collective cloud of all the people in the room. So that's like a subset of the larger collective consciousness. we can call it the mastermind of that room. Okay, so that mastermind, it's all of the ideas that are flowing into the room. Well, I could just like project a different idea and somebody in the room would pick it up. Now, they wouldn't be aware that where that idea is coming from, because normally people, we don't stop to think where the ideas are coming from, and they might just feel that it's coming from them. They might be aware that all ideas are coming from the collective consciousness. Okay, there's a morphic field of the collective consciousness, and this is where we generate idea as humanity at large and beyond humanity, okay, higher selves and whatnot. But let's just say all of the ideas are like the ocean there, so there's not an idea that like you thought of. But it feels, when I receive the idea and I become moved by that idea, it feels like it's mine, and I identify with, I become the vessel of that idea. This is same for everyone. Now, the projector type can curate the ideas in the room. I can curate my own mind, but I can also curate the room. Now, I can also curate the collective field at large. Now, in the collective field at large, there are many streams. So it will be like one projector and then the whole collective. It's like a lot of influences, a lot of streams, and you're trying to find a niche where you can like project your idea, and then people will kind of like pick it up. The more you feed it, the more everybody else will get that idea. So it's like the hive mind, okay, and the projector type is the queen bee, perhaps, because all the other bees are attuning to the curatorship and the will of that queen bee. Now, here's another very interesting thing. Projector is also based in the 0 point. What does that mean? So the projector type is, so let's say generator type, or somebody who is just fixed on the experience of physical reality. So these are souls that are not perhaps even going to be aware of the metaphysical reality. I mean, when we use thoughts in everyday life, this is not physical, so I'm just saying of the higher kind of like structures, how everything is assembled together. There perhaps is a large number of people that are just going to come into this lifetime to drive cars. They're going to make cars, they're going to make machines, they're going to play football. They're not going to be specifically interested in the structure or the metaphysical assembly or the architecture of reality. Okay, so that's what we call spiritual. The higher mental is the spiritual. So for these people, it is absolutely not necessary. It would even be distracting to kind of use this etheric internet that connects everybody in the collective consciousness, and to even know everything that is there. It's like it will be quite a nuance. So they're just going to streamline ideas from this cloud, and it is maybe analogical to me being a user of this internet, and I don't know how internet works. I'm just using the smartphone, and when I'm using the smartphone, there is no necessity for me to understand how my Wi-Fi works, actually, and how the Wi-Fi connects to the World Wide Web. I don't need to know that. I'm a user, okay? Still, what I use it for, I make videos, so I need to know how to make videos, and I will focus on that. In the same way, we use the human collective consciousness internet. Some people are admins, okay, of that collective cloud. other people are users. Okay, so that's a good analogy. I would say I'm happy with that, satisfied with that. Okay, so curating then really comes to being a 0-point centered being. What does it mean? The 0 point is pure consciousness beyond all structures of reality. That means beyond the baseline structures of this universe, which are like principles, archangels, Elohim, these like geometries and codes and the beings that distribute these codes into this greater complexity density where we call physical reality. Okay. So not everybody who is a projector has experienced themselves as pure consciousness or had a samadhi experience or like is even spiritual. Okay. And I know this because when I see these people who are 0 point centered, I can see through them, like their whole structure will become the void. Like this is how I see the reality. So when I see another person, another individual who is 0 point centered, they will fade out into emptiness and I will just see pure consciousness without form. Actually, so there's nothing to see, but just the person will kind of like fade out and I will see consciousness, so there will be no other. And many people that I've seen that have this trait, they're not spiritual at all. They do not even think of themselves as like spiritual, and they try to grind the reality in the physical way, which then is really funny to me because it is not rendering results for them in the same way if they would utilize just sending a thought out and then receiving the manifestation of that thought, and also other people joining into that idea and just collaborating and co-creating the manifestation. So for the projector, it is enough to simply desire something. Now, let's talk about something also kind of like interesting. The way that we understand human design is compartmental. Now, there are types and they go by numbers from, 1 to 5 or 6, and then they have decimals, and it's all about like your generator or manifestor or projector or reflector, and it is sort of like a birth chart. Okay, you are born with this design. Now, one thing about astrology, natal chart, and human design that I've also intuitively understand, and I have been talking with the build or the architecture or the metaphysics of this reality and the Elohims and the other beings that are kind of like working on this reality from that perspective. And what I've picked up on my journey is that these are not very compartmental, actually, and these are not fixed compartments. The types, they certainly, the human design and the natal chart and the astrology, they do describe something really well, but always there will be also that your astrologer or human design, coach or whatever, they will be probably highly intuitive and they will be able to kind of like really pick it up when they are giving you your build or your traits or whatever is your character, whatever is your nuance. A being, though, can evolve to be kind of like based in a, let's say, generator type, and evolve into, let's call it projector type or reflector type. So basically, it might happen that you actually shapeshift your assembly throughout one lifetime. So that's just FYE, okay? Do not take these containers literally. So if you feel yourself, so by my numbers, I should be, I think, manifesting generator, and this is why I do not really partake in these like rigid definitions, or I don't even consult anyone. I only consult my own intuition, and also whatever I've said here, you can use with your own intuitive discernment, because this is not the truth. It is a perspective, okay? And it is like actually kind of like browsing different perspectives and bringing them down into a narrative, into a transmission. So seeing things from different angles, especially different dimensions, it can be nuanced if we try to fit it in the box. This is why we're not. We're kind of flowing with it. So I would just recommend to see if you feel that you are a projector type, whether you can influence the room to change their mind, or you can influence a timeline in the room, or a timeline in the street, or a timeline in a, I don't know, like a area where many people are kind of like walking. Let's say it's a party, it's a restaurant, it's a street with many people commuting, it's traffic, maybe you're in a car and other people are driving the cars. Try to see if you can project ideas or moods, okay? Because it's not just about what somebody does or says. It can also be that the whole freaking restaurant starts to be in a party mood. In the meantime, you wouldn't go there trying to cheer people up like a, let's say, generator would do. Like, hey, what's up, come on. Right? Like, work it. No, you just sit and you start to imagine everybody having a party. Also, you can start to imagine everybody walking up to you and being like, hey, fist bump, and then you just do this and they're like, bump. And you see if people will pick up these behaviors, right? And some of them will, okay, depending how open they are, and some of them will not. Or perhaps you can really concentrate and you can just shift the whole collective timeline of this planet or your city or your what do we call this, like a board of tenants in a building where everybody comes and they're having like some issues, and then you can maybe make them all cheerful. So try it out. It's simply that you are projecting an idea. What will feel empowering to you to understand is your consciousness, and so yeah, what will feel empowering for you to understand, and try to imagine this or intuitively understand what I'm saying. Your consciousness is beyond any structure of this universe. So that's what I call 0 point. So from that baseline of reality, which we also call quantum, you're actually influencing the build of the universe. That is then creating a timeline and a field of information that is going to animate everybody else in the room. Okay? And you can do that without being physically, verbally interacting with this reality. Projector. Now, sometimes before I ever knew how this actually works, and now I'm sometimes using it intentionally, okay, and I just use it on the low, and I'm just like kind of cool about it. I'm just like, send a little thought form there, and or upload it there and wait, and then people download it and things start shifting and changing. And almost like they say for the projector, wait for invitation, because if I try to tell somebody something that I already see is a future potential, but they haven't received that yet for themselves, they are not activated to talk to me yet, so they will not be activated to respond to that information. So if I send the information, they will come and they will actually ask me to have a conversation about that thing that I was thinking about, right? So it comes like I have the idea first, but I cannot initiate. I have to wait for them to kind of like become aware of that idea in their own time. And some people will become aware of it immediately, and others maybe never, depending on their just what they're open to. Okay, so this is where you don't have the right to manipulate everybody, or you cannot manipulate everybody, but you can activate or influence those people who are open to that type of influence. Before I started to use this, when I was totally aware of this and I was rational about it, and I started using it in this like kind of casual fashion, sometimes it happened that I would get very excited emotionally about an idea or desire that I had. Probably I would become frustrated by the lack of something, or just like my inability to connect in a certain way. And from this frustration, I would get very emotional, perhaps even angry, and then I would kind of like shout at the universe, like, this freaking thing, just like we need more something, right? And then I would be amazed how my excitement would produce like instant transformation of my reality, including how that reality looks on a collective sort of field. So in the multiplayer field, let's say in my city or in the street or in a bar or wherever, I would request a shift, and then all of a sudden I would be like quantum jumping in a different timeline, but I would be with the same people, but they would be having all these new ideas, those that were open to it. And sometimes, okay, this is very interesting, the change does not take place immediately or later, but the change, your idea is projected, like from, let's say here we have a day, today is like Friday or something, and we have this calendar, right? So like I'm based in time, but the projector is not, the consciousness is not based in time. So the idea manifests not now, not later. The idea manifests in the past. Okay? And so imagine you are now in a library and you're looking at books from late 20th century, and there is nothing about, let's say, I don't know, Michelle Pfeiffer, that's an actress from the 20th century. So she made a movie, I don't know, something, and you wanted to browse the library and you wanted to find a book of photographs from that motion picture. And you search the library and you search the internet, and nobody ever published that sort of book. And let's say you get very emotional about it and you're like, universe, somebody should have published a book. Somebody should have published a book about Michelle Pfeiffer in that movie, she was like really gorgeous in that. Like I remember one movie, she's a waitress with I think Al Pacino, and she's like very pretty, and like I just want to see all the photos from her in that period of time. She's just my muse. Okay. Now, upon shouting that in the same bookstore or library or whatever, you kind of like take another look on the shelf, and all of a sudden the Mandela effects hit you. There is a book on that topic, and you look at the book and it's published 30 years ago. So you change the fabric of this reality in the past, and now you're standing here in the now and the book is there. So yeah, it's a 0 point is beyond the construct of space-time, it's beyond the construct of this universe, and therefore when you project something upon the fabric of this reality, it is coming from beyond, the great beyond, and it is influencing all of the data, all of the architecture in this universe in a very complex way that you cannot like see from here, because here there is a build, you don't see how the bones are working, how the blood is flowing, how the cells are working, and you don't see how contracts and soul contracts and these collisions and free will of every single station of identity is kind of like forming this, because there's a lot of layers, it's a vast reality, it's a complex architecture, so you don't actually need to see that. But you can use the internet and you can influence what gets published on the internet. Analog to this, it would be like I'm using the internet right now, and if I say in my YouTube video, we need more articles online about what Google was in 1997, all of a sudden you will be calling in that reality where all these articles were already published. Okay, or in a linear fashion we could say people will just pick it up and start publishing these articles. Yeah, but people just pick it up in the past too, and when you're here in the now, they're already published. So this is actually a very interesting way to play. And now I also wanna, if you've been watching this video from the beginning and you're not a projector, well, I want to give you a cookie. It is not limited what you are capable of just based on your type. Your type is just a very default way that you interface with this reality. But here's the thing, you could be a manifestor, generator, whatever. Whenever anyone was praying to God Almighty, or beyond the whatever version of self or station is the white ceiling, the screen. Okay, so you're praying to the screen, and the screen then generates into some higher principle and then into lower principle. It just follows a very default mechanic of manifesting itself into more condensed complexities. So when you're in this complexity and you're busy with the physical reality, you pray and your thing is heard. Okay, your thing is heard. Whatever you send, that request is heard and then is processed, and then in a way is generated into the expansion of this reality, because it's a creative organism. Alright, I hope that was interesting. Subscribe to my channel. I'm new to YouTube, so it's either here or there. Hit the like button, and I'll see you on the flip side.